Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I want to address a couple of issues about where we are from a political standpoint and the races that are going on federally. First of all, there's been this discussion about whether we should have had an election right away or whether it was appropriate for the proroguing of Parliament and the leadership contest that the Liberal Party has initiated. I am one that thinks that leadership campaigns, leadership contests are one of the best possible times to have discussions about policies. Kim Campbell famously said a campaign is the wrong time to have a discussion about policy. I disagree with that, but particularly I think that leadership campaigns really are incredibly good times because when you're in a campaign within your party, hopefully you don't have that many personal attacks, unlike a leadership, a actual election campaign where the negative attacks seem to take over, and it really is soundbite against soundbite. But leadership campaigns really, I think, are incredible opportunities for parties to discuss where they want to go and what they believe. And I do think that the Liberal Party needed and the country needs a discussion about where we want to go and what those policies are. I've been critical of the Justin Trudeau government in regards to its lack of attention to prosperity, to productivity, to national defense, to border security. And I think that because of Donald Trump's threats, because of the threatened tariff war, and just because of renewal and where the Liberals are in the polls, the Liberal Party is going to have and is having an incredibly good discussion about that. And so I think that I think it's healthy, and I think that it's rare in the life of a party or in the life of a country that you have such an opportunity for such an incredible, intense discussion. My second point is resumes. I do think that it's really helpful having a discussion of people's background and experience. And I think that we've got some very different resumes, different people and their backgrounds that are competing for the Liberal leadership. And it allows people to think about what's needed. And I do think that that the environment is different today than it has been in the past, and so therefore maybe a resume that you want, an experience that you want in a leader and or a prime minister is different today, given the threatened tariffs from Trump than it may have been before Trump was elected, or if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States. And I think that's appropriate to think about that. I do think that experience counts. And I do think, as Dennis Mills and I talked about, and he may have disagreed with me in this regard, but I think that the resume that you're looking for, the experience that you're looking for in a leader of the official opposition versus a prime minister is different. I happen to think that Pierre Poilievre has got the best experience possible to be leader of the opposition, and I think he did a very good job in that regard. I think his attack dog, experience with Stephen Harper, his long tenure in Parliament. Makes him a great leader of the opposition, because that's what you hire the opposition party to do, is oppose, to question, to demand answers. I'm not sure whether that gives you the best experience to be actually the leader of a government, the prime minister, the head of the executive branch. And so I do think that, you got to think about that, which comes to, I guess, my final issue. And that is, I do think the world has changed for Canada because of Trump's election in the United States, because of the threat of Trump's tariffs. And I don't think this is a one-time thing. I think there's going to be pressure put on us for probably the full 4 years, whether it's tariffs this month or national defense spending, or migrants and potentially mass deportations that mean a whole bunch of migrants want to come to Canada. I do think that drug smuggling and gun smuggling, both which may go both ways, north and south, and the border, are all issues that we're going to be faced with. And so I think an election now, or frankly in 2 months from now, is actually perfectly well timed. And I come back to the 1988 election on free trade. I think that if that election were held earlier, before some of the financial challenges that Canada had, we may not have come to the same decision. I think that because of the financial challenges in the 80s because of high inflation, because of where the Canadian dollar was, because of a lot of economic issues that we were faced with. Canada had a real debate as to whether we wanted to have free trade or freer trade with the United States than we had in the past. And it was an election that really was about an issue and several issues. And I think that that was healthy for Canada to have. I think an election in 2 months' time, or sometime before October, will be a very different election campaign, and the discussion will be extremely different, no matter who the leader of the Liberal Party is, versus an election that we may have had last fall. And so I do think that delaying the election was healthy for Canada. I think it'll end up being a far better election campaign, a far better election discussion. I think that the last election would have been, if we had election in the fall, it would have been about a carbon tax. It would have been about the pandemic. It would have been about vaccines. It would have been about trucker convoy. It would have been about issues that are, frankly, I think, issues of the past. I think this election campaign that's coming up, whether it's in 2 months or in 4 months, will be about the future of Canada in a North America that's a different North America than it has been in the past. And I think that's healthy. So I think resumes matter. I think resumes and experiences for the leader of the official opposition versus prime minister are very different. I think that leadership campaigns are an incredibly healthy time to have discussions about policy and about issues. And I think election campaigns, timed for the economic pressures, the geopolitical pressures of the moment, are very healthy for a country. So I think we're in for an interesting couple of months, and I think that's good for Canada. That's Brian Crombie for the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. Thanks for joining. I remind you on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. And I post all my podcasts and video casts to social media, to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to Instagram, to podcast servers as soon as the radio show goes to air. Good night, everybody. Thanks.